Hello there, my name's Mark and these are my Dice Tales, and today I wanted to try and do a little bit of a review of When Nightmares Come. Now this comes from a lineage going back to Hardwired. It's by the author of Patrick Todoroff. This was his first game that I came across, Hardwired. This one has been renamed to Exploit Zero if you are looking for it. And this one drew me in. Now, I've done this video a few times, and this is going to be my concise one. That's going to be quick and to the point. I obviously like Patrick Todoroff's stuff. I have pretty much got most of his books, apart from, and this is where the crux of my review really boils down. I guess this expansion is good and bad. The best thing about this one is really simple, really nice rule set, really easy to understand and pick up and play for a one-night's game, a couple of games, skirmish campaign linked together. Now, it doesn't really have leveling up. The Night Watch brings in sort of leveling up. That's definitely the newer one, the Blood and Bone one, and so does When Nightmares Come. But what none of the others had, and what I really enjoyed, was the very first mission in this book was a multi-scenario mission. And I say that's my big takeaway. And if he did more multi-scenario missions, I think that fixes what I've had wrong and why I've not done a review so far of any of these books. I think I've done a playthrough of this one online. I think I've done a playthrough of Night Watch online. Not a full campaign, just like the first mission or so, just to get the gist of the mechanics. Mechanics today easy, and I'm really drawn to the mechanics. The mechanics are, you have 4 heroes. Each turn you have 4 actions. That can be a move, a free move, and then you get 3 other actions where one of them uses a d6 dice, one of them uses a d8 dice, one of them uses a d10 dice. If you are specialised in, there's a couple of classes, your general things, your melee classes who specialize in melee or shooting. So if you're specialized in one of those, when you use one of those dice to attack, you would roll 2 of them. As long as one of them rolled over 4, you have, actually for this book up really, you have hit or interacted successfully with whatever you're trying to do. So if you roll, the reason I like this one more is all the character actions are almost on one page rules, almost. Let's just see if I can find that page. Here we go. He calls them caps, and there's 3 classes on this page. There is the Splicer, the Ronin, the Razor, and the Sawbones. So Splicer is like the wizard, he's the hacker and the computer specialist. The Ronin and the Razor are your melee and your shooting specialist. The Sawbones is the doctor. And there actually is one more. It's a pity it didn't fit on the same page. The Sonic one. What does he call it? The Shiver. The Night Watch calls them Mancers for the wizards. Probably something like Guardians for the melee and the range guys. Let's just see, he calls them guilds. Then there's an alchemist. Yeah, Mancer, alchemist, tracker, and blade. And When Nightmares Comes follows a similar thing. They're all the same sort of classes. What we've got: Weaver for your magician, White for your alchemist, Warden for your range specialist and melee specialist. That's fine. I'm happy with them renaming the classes. That's not what bothers me. But the outcome, possibly my overall review, is all of these together are a nice toolbox. So if you liked that initial mechanic of having 3 dice to do your actions and then being a specialist and rolling double dice in those ones where you're good, that's why you should come and enjoy these games. Now, I liked Hardwired a little bit more because it had one of the classes or 2 of the classes could roll double dice when they were trying to move, so they're the guys that could get to the objectives, but they were maybe weaker to fight things when they got there, so maybe they needed to hand back and actually do more support roles, like giving their dice to other members of the party, healing, throwing smoke bombs, things like that. So really, really cool, nice pocket set of rules. And then the big one was the very first mission in this was described as a multi-objective scenario. And if he had more multi-objective scenarios, I think that is what these two games want and what the expansions want to be. That is my opinion. Why is that? Okay. Without waffling too long, this game is almost the best of the bunch, apart from it doesn't have any multi-scenario objectives. It's got like a very simple rule set, maybe not quite as simple as Hardwired, because it sort of introduces leveling up and upgrading, and it introduces a thing called the narrative scene, which doesn't quite grab me. But it's only got one scenario, and it expects you to play that scenario 6 times with the same enemies, and that's what might put you off. But then if you forget about that and just say, well, I'm just going to use the basic mechanics because I enjoy those, and then start doing my own thing, I think that's when this game turns into more of a winner, more of a, I can remember the rule set, I just need to do a bit of work to work on a scenario. The scenario in this game has you set up a 2x2 table. In the center of each quarter, you put a point of interest, something to interact with, find a clue. You need to interact with 3 of these before turn 6, even way before turn 6, really. And once you've interacted with 6, then a 4th one appears, a nexus appears, and you have to then try to close that nexus. And another thing I like about the nexus is that it takes 3 successes to close it, but if you do 3 failures, then something bad happens and a more powerful enemy appears that might not normally appear in that level of scenario that you're playing. So that's cool enough. But doing it 6 times and then just having the enemies come on in waves, I've mentioned that I didn't like the wave mechanic in pretty much any of the games. So why did I keep buying them? Because I always thought that there's something I can work with here. So yeah, and that's what I'm going to do. Now, another review on this one. Terrible artwork in this one. Not terrible in style, but this one just shows a guy working at his desk. I mean, that is a white, that is the alchemist. This one just shows a nurse in a cosplay outfit carrying an Egyptian dagger and glowing fingernails. No action is going on. Occasionally, when you do get something weird and creepy, your heroes aren't doing anything with it. The heroes are stood there gawping. The heroes are stood there gawping. This is a really cool picture. The heroes are stood there gawping, no action. Big criticism. I've got a very big thing about them all. These are secret undercover, and she's skating through a park with a magic missile in her hand. I don't know how secret and undercover that is. This one makes sense. This one makes sense in the game. This one is a group of heroes hanging around at points of interest, but as they're dawdling and investigating, there are dead bodies that are coming to get them. The morgue is coming alive as the heroes are investigating. That's creepy, that's weird. That fits the theme. This one is like a before picture. This one, you know, there are civilians. It doesn't really deal with civilians in the rules. It doesn't expect you to rescue them, escort them, stop them getting gobbled up. So sort of doesn't make sense as much. There's another picture. Guy reading the book. Okay, it's a lightning book, but doesn't give me what I want. There's 2 pictures that are actually. Where's it gone? We've got creepy boy. I like that one. That one's a weird one. This one is the game. This one, our heroes are in a graveyard, and obviously they're being attacked by zombies or ghouls or some such, and they're fighting them off. Obviously, we don't know the reason they're there and what they're digging up. Are they consecrating? Are they digging up a witch. I don't know, what can you be doing in the graveyard? Staking a vampire. But aside from introducing the narrative scene, which I don't think you need a narrative scene, because the outcome of the narrative scene, as written in the book, doesn't have much of a consequence on the gameplay in the games I've played. They're actually even beneficial to lose the narrative scene. So other than sort of forming a story in your head and almost going down a solo roleplay route, that's a negative. So artwork a negative, having only one scenario a negative, mechanics in general and easy enough to read and pick up, big positive. Now, the toolbox. If you own Blood and Bone or Hardwired Exploit 0, then you have the toolbox ready. Somewhere in the 80s. Here we go. So this one has pretty much every scenario that you see in every other war game. You've got defend and destroy. Destroy something at the centre of the battlefield, or protect something at the centre of the battlefield for X number of turns. Retrieve and rescue. You're going to put some hidden tokens around. One of them is going to be the thing that you want to find. So if you split up and search, better, but you might get gobbled by monsters. So once you find the right thing, you've probably got to get it off the board. So recommend having 4 slips of paper. One of them has your MacGuffin. Persian Consecrate. So that would fit in with the ghoul picture that we saw. And it has you need to go to 3, let's call them graveyards, 3 objectives. And you need to make successful interaction to consecrate the ground. The opposite of that is demolition. You need to go to the graveyard and dig up and stake 3 vampires before they awake in the morning, and his thralls and minions are probably going to be trying to stop you. Escort and ambush. You've got a friendly or a civilian, get them out of there, or there's an evil MacGuffin, an evil spy, an Igor type that is trying to warn his master that the Night Watch, the guild are onto him. So as he's trying to get across the board, you've got to intercept him so the master does not find out. And I've got other ideas as well. You could, what I really want to try is, what if you had, right, let's go back to that picture that I liked. And the scenario that I liked. So the scenario that I liked in Hardwired that hasn't been replicated in any of the other books so far, which I'm really sad about. So Patrick Todoroff, let's do a scenario book of multi-objective scenarios like Mission 1. Mission 1 has you... there's a VIP in the centre of the board. You need to kill his bodyguards. Then your hacker's got to disable the security chip implant around his neck so his head doesn't blow up when you try and capture him, and then you've got to escort him off the board before he's shot and killed by the enemy gang who are flooding onto the board, and the corrupt police and the mechs and the cyborgs. So let's see my favourite picture in here. Biddy biddy bee, where are you, creepy boy? Let's find you. You know which picture I'm talking about. You're sort of fairly near the beginning. Oh, that's the other one. I think that one is reminiscent of the game. 4 adventurers stood there gawping, not in action poses, as the monsters come out portals and steadily come towards you to gobble you up. And where are you, creepy boy? I should have put a thing. There we go. Right. Let's turn the cyberpunk mission into this mission. There's several ways we can do it. 1. Okay, we have a narrative scene. I'm happy to introduce the narrative scene rules. Reports of a boy climbing on the ceiling, talking in tongues, things like that. So let's just keep it simple, like the scenario over there from Cyberpunk. Once we get, there's only one point of objective, the boy at the centre of the board. Once we approach him, suddenly the spirits start coming out of him, the bodyguards appear and will try and attack us. Now, suddenly appearing is a bit more horror-y than them being there ready for us to take out. So maybe we get close to the boy within 3 inches, bang, let's put 2 or 3 enemies on the board to then attack. Maybe they attack straight away, just one attack maybe, or maybe there's a sonic blast that pushes us back, and then the bodies appear. We can spitball that quite a bit and make it horror-esque. So we take care of the spirits that have come out of his body. Then we've got to deal with him. He's possessed. He's floating 6 foot off the ground. So the priestly type, the magic one, will say his prayers, throw on his pagan charms, do whatever he must, invoke his sonic screwdriver, and we'll get the boy down onto ground level. He'll still be shaken, and he still could be in trouble. So let's now get him off the board, as more and more spirits will try to claim him. Now, we could introduce other points of interest. Maybe we know he's, by the markings on his body, he's maybe not possessed, but he's maybe hexed by a witch. So maybe we need to know that there's hex bags hidden in his house. So can we find those hex bags and remove them? Or we just escort him off the board. Another thing we could do is, oh gosh, let's have 2 boards, like a slim board like this, and maybe another board in the graveyard, and you split your party. You've got your 4 or 5 adventurers, but you've got 2 boards. One party's gone after the boy, and then makes sure that he doesn't get possessed by midnight. But once he's calmed down and he's free of the spirits, they've done their prayers, done their sonic screwdrivers, and got rid of the enemy off the board, then the guys in the over the radio, Sam, Dean, salt that witch. We've cleared the hex bags. It's ready to burn the bones. So your other guys have been hanging out in the graveyard board at the same time So you're interacting over 2 boards. I've always wanted a game to do that. And I think you could do it with this game, but you're doing the work, putting in the action to make it happen. So multi-board scenarios or multi-objective scenarios will save this game. As it is, it's a nice version of the rules. It's probably one of the easiest ones to understand out the box. But as it is, to play 6 missions where you've got 4 points of interest, you're investigating it. Okay, you're trying to harvest it as well, maybe for bonus points. I don't think the way it presents it is you play 6 scenarios, you choose what your enemies are going to be. So you have 3 casts of enemies, D6 enemies, D10, 8 enemies, D10 enemies, and your big bad boss. The first 4 games you're fighting against the D6 and the D8s. In its example, I think it's got a vampire and it's got bats as your vermin. So look, bats will be flying around everywhere. So just swat off a few bats. If they swarm you, they do slightly more damage. Then it's the thralls, so the next level up. Now they're faster, so they've got a bit of vampire blood in them, a bit more get in your face. And I think they've got savage, so if you're wounded by them, make 2 defense rolls instead of 1, or it might be that they have 2 attacks or something like that. And then you've got your brides, so when you get into mission 8 or 9, there's 10 missions in the first Hardwired and Nightwatch. This one's 6 missions, so 6 or 8. So it's probably mission 5 and 6. You start meeting the brides, so they can fly. They are terrifying, so you might have to pass a roll before you can engage them. And they're probably savage as well, something like that. And in the final mission, you're fighting the vampire to stake him. And you're generally doing that you're fighting just the same baddies as it's written for 6 or 8 missions. So I prefer, let's take each picture in this book and make it into a mission and do a monster of the week. So this one is a very creepy picture. We're just heroes gulping, not doing anything actiony. But there's lots of animals. It looks like all the pets of the village had gathered together in the forest. So this scenario, you might have a lot more enemies on the board to start with, and you literally have to fight through a horde of little D6s, enemies with easy ones to kill. So when you're chucking your grenades and you're wielding a flamethrower, it should be fairly easy and probably quite fun to stomp a lot of monsters, rather than waiting for one to trickle through on the board, which isn't very horror-like. This is like critters or gremlins or arachnophobia, and there's they're coming at you. what would your objective be? Obviously, there's probably a druid, a dark druid that we need to find the grave. Yeah, you could have your narrative scene. You're talking to the people whose pets are going missing. You're talking to someone who's had a rabid bite. Maybe there's a werewolf in it, and he's raising an army. Let's go a bit manic cartoony. A werewolf is raising an army of village pets. Silly one. Okay. The other one, this one. Ooh, this one's Ghostbustery. This one reminds me of the ghost in the library in Ghostbusters 1. I need to see the icy one. Is that any good? Anyone recommend it in the comments below? But this one, let's get rid of... Well, we've still got D6s, but let's not have enemies on the board. Let's have the terrain on the board as the enemy. So you go to the library or museum or whatever, if you've got a nice bunch of terrain to represent this, and as you get close to the objectives, randomize a piece of terrain that is going to attack you. It's literally going to come alive and animate. And the world in the terrain is dangerous, or they're flinging books at you and bookcases and heavier things at you, and that's a D6 attack or a D8 attack. And you need to obviously get to these points of interest and consecrate them. Oh, sorry, got really cut off there. So yeah, the creepy guy in the library. And then, somehow find out how you wound a spectral guy, because your Uzi 9mm is probably not going to cause it. Yes, you can upgrade it with silver shrapnel and use a token and a dazzling bomb and a spell, but maybe they're just keeping it down, and you actually need to find his bones hidden in the library and kill him or something like that. That works as a nexus. Explore the 4 nexuses, but rather than just keeping the enemies the same, you're really jazzing up. It's a monster of the week. It's more Buffy the Vampire, something new every week. Maybe there's an overarching theme somehow. That's your standard game. You're in a crypt and the monsters are coming at you. But again, to get to the first side of the board, maybe it's full of traps, and you need to interact with the objectives on the first side of the board to open the gates to get to the bits where there's a treasure which you need to put in a lead box or something like that. You're making the story up, and it's not just visit 4 corners and turn off the lights as you go. I don't know what to do with the cover. I really like the cover, but because I can't draw much from it. There's a camouflage, so hard to hit big boss. He's big and creepy, so I don't know what to expect from him. So yeah, I think that's the most concise version of this. I've done this several times, and it's sort of prompted because I think on the Facebook group, someone on Amazon, someone posted a bad review of the book in the bin. Now I found it hard to review it because I actually have a lot of negatives to say, but I'm really engaged with the rule set as a toolbox to make it my own, and because it's like such a simple set of rules, you can really toolbox it quite nicely. And it's not, because I didn't want to come across as bashing the game. I can bash a lot of games. I mean, for some reason, I've never completed Rangers of Shadow Deep, and I've never quite got into Frostgrave, Stargrave, etc. I am a Grail hunter in games. I like to read lots of rule sets, and that probably, I don't know if I'm in a minority or is it a common thing to just have lots of rule sets. Now these two do the work for you. So I've just said that we're going to have to come up with the concepts for the scenarios. The Doomed has lots of tables where it will tell you the environment and give you new tactics for the monster that you're hunting. My downside of this is it sort of uses quality dice, which I'm not that interested in a mechanic. 1-page rules, Song of Blade of Heroes. That's my negative on those games. But the general campaigniness, leveling up, having objectives, fighting lots of unique monsters, and not your common monsters, not this game. This is your werewolf, your witches, your gnomes, redcaps, ghouls, skeletons. But again, they all have slightly different tactics, so you don't have to think about that each of the scenarios are different. And that was the failing. Yeah, I'm failing as I'm falling, of this book. But combined with other books to give it scenarios and your own brilliant imagination, I still recommend it, and I still will look for Todroff games. And if Mr. Patrick Todroff tells me that his expansions for the Nightwatch Blood and Bone, because I know he's got an expansion for that, and I think he's got an expansion for this, if he tells me that he's written missions that are like Hardwired's Mission 1, multi-objective scenarios, or are anything like what I've just tried to describe, I would buy them. And if I make up these scenarios and write them down, I would like to, yeah, that should be something I should do. I want to make a scenario book. That could be placed into any one of these games. Now, this one I need to read a bit more of, but this one is a bit post-apocalyptic. Post-alien invasion. They have invaded, and you are playing as like a survivor gang. Again, it's got the seek and destroy, the protect, the find the prisoner or lone survivor and escort them out of the war zone sort of thing. So it's got all the same sorts of missions, just done in an alien way. And the new thing in this is that the enemies might not be on the board, but they will send out sky patrols that might try and spot you, and then the enemies will come on the board as you're scavenging around. That sounds pretty cool. And then you can convert the alien tech into your own weapons. So yeah, that's a little bit of a review of pretty much all the games. Hardwired, Exploit Zero, The Nightwatch, and When Nightmares Come. I hope it made sense and it's concise. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Thank you for watching Mark's Dice Tales. I have got a video up. It's not my best. Look back in my library. I have got a Nightwatch video. Pretty sure I've got a Hardwired video on there. They'll probably do a better job than this video that I'm about to put out for When Nightmare Comes. But I want to redo a When Nightmare Comes, and I might really try and make that multi-scenario on a multi-board and do the little boy in the house theme with the kill the witch in the graveyard after you've saved the boy. And then what am I doing in the graveyard while we're saving the boy? We're obviously fighting off ghouls and spirits and things, I think. Just a similar thing. So one board has a timer which will then unlock the other board or something. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I don't need to make it that complicated. Mark's Dice Tales signing off. Goodbye. Ooh.